Adventure Time. Yes, Adventure Time, the Cartoon Network classic about a human boy named Finn and his best friend and shape-shifting magical dog named Jake going on crazy adventures in this fantasy land called Ooo to protect the Candy Kingdom, where literally everyone is a sentient piece of candy. They all got wavy noodle arms and say crazy wacky catchphrases, and the show's about war. Yeah, things get a little crazy. And there's 10 freaking seasons, man. There's tons of side stories, backstories, and extra stuff, so I might have to oversimplify this one a bit. But let's start with Season 1. Does anything happen in Season 1? I mean, we got Finn and Jake partying, having fun, goofing around, and going on random adventures. They protect Princess Bubblegum, the leader of the Candy Kingdom and creator of all the candy people, from the Ice King, an evil princess-obsessed wizard who is kinda too stupid to be a real threat, but he just keeps popping up. Finn and Jake live in a treehouse with a sentient Game Boy named BMO, Jake's dating a rainbow unicorn named Lady Rainicorn, etc, etc, etc. And all that is super fun and charming, but plot-wise, this season's pretty barren. Early Adventure Time is just pure shenanigans. And Season 2 is mostly the same, but some wheels do start turning. See, when you watch the show, you might notice that Finn's kinda the only human around. And maybe this super buff girl he's friends with Susan Strong, but that's for later. You might also spot a lot of weirdly modern technology just rotting away in this fantasy land. Like TVs and cars and... Oh! Yeah, so here's the thing. Adventure Time actually takes place on a post-apocalyptic Earth, 1,000 years after this intense nuclear conflict called the Mushroom Wars. And that war is super important. It actually provides a lot of context for Adventure Time's insanity. Case in point, Ice King. Way back, before all the magic and nuclear explosions and junk, the world was pretty much the way it is now, and we got this guy named Simon. Super smart, scholarly dude who studied antiques and lived with his fiancée Betty, who he called his princess. But one day, he finds a crown. This thing was actually made millions of years ago by an ice elemental called Evergreen to grant a wish to whoever first wore it. First person to wear it just happened to wish to become an ice elemental like Evergreen. Couldn't have wished for a sandwich or something. So when Simon puts on the crown, it starts messing with his mind and giving him ice powers. He ends up scaring off Betty and never seeing her again. So he dedicates the rest of his life to studying the crown, with it slowly changing him the more he wears it. And after the bombs dropped, Simon was wearing the crown more and more to keep himself and this random little vampire girl named Marceline safe in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. So inevitably, the crown overtakes Simon and he goes full Ice King, completely forgetting everything about his own life, running off on his own, leaving Marceline behind, and spending the rest of his days kidnapping princesses. Oh! I get it now. This was heavy! We don't find any of this out until Season 3, and it's pretty much the first time Adventure Time really dove deep into character development. And considering the rest of the show was this...
Yeah!
It hit pretty hard. But that's not even the worst thing to come out of the Mushroom Wars. Nah, that would be the Lich. This ready for picture day looker is a being of ultimate unstoppable evil that Princess Bubblegum keeps in her attic. She's managed to contain him for a while, but just when she decides to show him to Finn and Jake, he escapes. You need better security than just tree sap, Bubblegum. You're better than that. And of course, then the Ice King kidnaps PB again. This is a good day. Finn gives the Lich a good beatdown, and I'm sure that will be the only time in this entire series that he ever has to defeat him. Oh, wait, spoke too soon. The Lich is now inside Princess Bubblegum, and she's turning into a giant monster. Finn and Jake team up with the Ice King to freeze her. She falls over, breaks into a bunch of pieces, and the doctors couldn't find all of the gum to bring her back to normal, so now she's... younger? Is that how that works? Like, if I lose an arm, does that mean I'm like 5 years younger? But this is actually pretty interesting, because Finn's been crushing on Bubblegum this whole show, and now they're the same age. There was like a 5-year age gap between them, but actually not, because Bubblegum's like 900 years old, but we don't know that at the time, so for all we know, they're the same age. So this could be a really interesting exploration of their friendship dynamic, and how this changes things between them. But no. We don't see PB again for like 6 episodes, at which point she is immediately returned back to normal. Yep. So, right when Finn finally had a chance to, well, have a chance with Bubblegum, it's tossed out the window like that. And Finn, he doesn't take it well. Dude goes all emo, wallowing in sadness and cuddling a lock of PB's hair. You know, like a normal person. Dude, she's not dead, she's just too old for you. But then he falls in love with another girl, Flame Princess, in like 5 seconds and starts literally chasing after her. You know, like a normal person. But despite that, Finn and Flame Princess actually start hanging out and eventually dating for a while. Until Finn screws it all up and gets his butt dumped. And if things weren't bad enough for our slightly problematic hero, Finn's starting to have freaky premonition dreams about the Lich. And wouldn't you know it, that dang old Lich is back. He uses the dead body of Finn's childhood hero to trick Finn into opening a portal to the Time Room. That is an actual sentence that I wrote into a script and said out loud. In the Time Room, you can make one wish that creates an alternate dimension wish reality. The Lich uses his wish to extinguish all life, but Finn jumps in right behind him and wishes that the Lich never existed. And instead of creating a paradox that explodes the universe, it instead creates a separate reality where magic
doesn't exist, except for the crown, I guess.
Finn's now a normal human boy with a nose and a robot arm. Standard human boy fare, and Jake is just a dog. They're living on a farm with an actual human family. This is so normal that it's weird. There's this whole ordeal where the Ice King sacrificed himself to freeze the bomb that caused the apocalypse. And with Simon dead, the crown was just like, ugh, this sucks, I'm bored, and plunged the Earth into a 400-year ice age. And now, after the world went back to normal, that warhead just kinda sits there, still frozen and ready to go off any day. But Finn just sees the crown and is like, ooh, yoink! Big old dummy puts on the crown and just... Finn goes nuts and starts throwing ice everywhere. The commotion cracks the frozen warhead, and what time is it? Apocalypse time! Oh. Well, crap. Oh wait, there's Jake. You know, maybe this ain't all bad. Oh my god! Jake's got a Lich up in him! This looks like the end for Finn and Jake. But then we cut to our Jake still chilling in the time room, just watching it all go down. It's a good use of time, my friend. Oh, that's right, Jake can still make a wish to fix all this. He wishes to change the Lich's wish to, I wish for Finn and Jake to be back home safe in Oo. Huh. That was way easier than I thought it would be. But wait, does that whole farm world dimension still exist? What about the Lich? They didn't kill him or anything. He's still out there. What are they gonna do about it? Look! Puppies! Jake and Lady Rainicorn had puppies! They grow up by the end of the first episode and don't really play into the plot after that, but... puppies! Oh, and Finn broke his sword, now he's got a new one. A fancy one that's made out of grass, attached to his arm at all times, and is apparently cursed. I'm sure there's no reason to look into that anymore right now, so let's see what's going on with the Ice King. Wait, what? So, one day, Ice King got hit with a wave of some kinda anti-magic, reverting him back into Simon. And while he's come to his senses, he opens up a time portal so he can say goodbye to Betty. But Betty pulls a galaxy brain move and just jumps through the time portal. Yeah! Poop. Betty runs off to try and find a way to reverse whatever magic is keeping Ice King all Dumbo in the brain and bring back Simon. So in the meantime, jumping back to Finn, dude gets a massive drama bomb dropped on him when he finds out that his dad is still alive and in some giant space prison called the Citadel. Finn and Jake hop over there immediately, but because nothing is ever easy, the Lich goes too. He starts using goopy gray gunk to free all the prisoners, including this human guy named Martin. That's Finn's dad, and he's a total bum. The Lich starts closing in on Finn as Martin bails to try to escape. But Finn douses the Lich with this weird regeneration juice that turns the Lich into a giant baby? That's pretty weird. But no time for that right now. Finn's dad's about to get away. Finn tries to pull down the big rock Martin's escaping on, but he just isn't strong enough. But then his cursed grass sword randomly switches into maximum overdrive to try and help Finn, and... oh god! Finn's arm popped off!
Aw, and it sprouted a cute little flower.
But also, well, that could have gone better. Finn and Jake head back to Oo, leave the giant harmless baby Lich on some old couple's doorstep, and things go back to normal for a bit. Well, as normal as things can be when you've lost an arm. Don't worry. A bee voiced by Chloe from Life is Strange falls in love with Finn's weird arm flower, and somehow that makes it turn into a tree, explode, and then turn into a fresh new arm for Finn with a little thorn sticking out of the palm. I don't know how any of this works. Hey, wait, who's that over there? Oh, right, Betty! Forgot she was a thing. She's working with this guy named Magic Man now. Magic Man is a jerk. Their experiment goes wrong. Betty winds up absorbing all of Magic Man's powers, as well as his jerkiness, making Betty crazy and magical, and making Magic Man just normal man. Dude just kinda dips back to Mars after that. Gee, that sucks. Hey, what's going on in the Ice Kingdom? Well, Ice King's just kinda chilling with his penguins, including his favorite, Gunther. Gunther. They say it a bunch of different ways in the show, and I don't know which one's the right one. Aw, look how cute he is. You would never even guess that he's actually an ancient cosmic entity called the Orgalorg, who was banished to Earth for attempting to take over the solar system by consuming the power of a comet that was barreling towards the planet. Yeah. And hey, there just so happens to be another comet barreling towards Earth right now! So the Orgalorg takes over Gunther and springs into space to try for a do-over. But Finn goes right up after him, only to find his dad? In the mouth of a giant moth. It makes a bit more sense when you watch the whole show. Like I said, I'm kinda having to oversimplify things here for the sake of time. So, Finn and Martin wander space for a bit until they find the Orgalorg chowing down on a comet. Finn jumps inside the Orgalorg's mouth, the thorn in his arm sprouts into a giant grass tentacle, and he absolutely wrecks the Orgalorg. But, then the comet breaks open and reveals some other kind of cosmic entity, and they're like,
Finn, you were a comet once, I guess. You lived many lives over millions of years. You created me. Or maybe you didn't, I don't know. Hey, you wanna hang? Just you and me. We can travel to the end and beginning of all things together. Or I guess you can stay on Earth and do Earth junk, if you want.
Finn's like, Earth junk please! But Martin decides to take the comet up on their deal. So, Martin doesn't exist anymore. And that's the end of season 6. What the heck did I just watch? That was the weirdest season finale I've ever seen. First time I saw this, it went in my head, but all I processed was... Anyway, now it's season 7, and everyone starts calling Princess Bubblegum by her real name for some reason. Her name is Bonnibel, or Bonnie for short. They revealed this name in season
2, I think.
but now it's becoming a pretty regular thing, so I'm gonna do the same thing in my video. One day, Bonnie's just chilling in this cabin she grew up in when Marceline, that vampire girl Simon protected back during the Mushroom Wars, literally bursts in and asks Bonnie to make her not a vampire anymore. We've seen Marceline countless times in the series at this point. She's a vampire, but she's not evil, she's friends with Finn and Jake, she plays bass, she's a fan favorite. She just hasn't been super plot relevant till now. But trust me, her wanting to not be a vampire anymore is a big deal. So Bonnie tosses Marceline into this machine and zaps all the vampire out of her. But that wakes up a bunch of evil vampires that Marceline had slain years before. So Marcy and Bonnie, and Finn and Jake, take out all the vampires before they can cause trouble. Bonnibel and Marceline have a lot of really cute bonding moments, heavily implying that they got a bit of a past. And after doing a bunch of slaying, all the vampires are gone. Well, except Marceline. By slaying all the vampires, she absorbed their powers, which means she's back to the way she started. But, she's cool with it now. Glad we went through all that then! So, we've kinda danced around this for a while now, but what the heck is going on with the whole grass sword thing? Okay, so after Finn got his new arm, he started using this new sword that had some kind of sentient Finn consciousness inside it. It's called the Finn Sword. But when someone steals Finn's Finn Sword, making Finn's Finn arm sprout Finn's Finn grass sword again, he accidentally breaks both of them. And that makes Finn big sad. And it makes the consciousness of the two swords meld together. Fast forward a bit, and Finn is getting into a huge fight with Susan Strong. Remember her? Well, now she's not only confirmed to be human, but we even find out she's got some kind of funky mods installed in her head that are making her go crazy. She beats Finn up and throws him to the ground, but Finn's arm is just like, oh, heck no, you do not mess with my rest of me like that. And that big grass tentacle sprouts again, knocks Susan on her butt, and then totally ditches Finn's arm to go grab Finn's discarded Finn Sword. This boy cannot keep an arm to save his life. The two swords merge together and create Fern, a sentient grass dude who is convinced he's Finn. Dude's got a lot of issues to work out, so he rides off into the sunset for a while, but don't worry, he'll be back. In the meantime, Bubblegum gives Finn this fresh new high-tech robot arm that has a bunch of different features and abilities. Remember that. And speaking of robots, this giant stingray robot randomly just showed up on Ooh looking for Susan. But it also recognizes Finn for some reason. Obviously, this is suspicious as But, so Finn, Jake, and Susan all set off to find where this weird stingray ship came from. They end up on this super fancy high-tech island where they find... Whoa! That's a humans! That's a veritable baker's dozen of humans! And why does that one look so much like Finn? Well, funny you should ask. Me, because that is Dr. Minerva, Finn's mom. Oh! Okay! You're just gonna drop that one on us like that, alright. Minerva's lived on this island her whole life. This is where she fell in love with Martin and had Finn before a series of unfortunate events led to Martin running away from people trying to hurt him, leaving Finn on a raft in the middle of the ocean while trying to protect him, and Minerva being left on the island by herself with no idea what even happened. These days, the real Minerva's not really around anymore because she put herself in cryostasis and uploaded her consciousness to a ton of robot clones so she could help protect her people from a deadly virus that spread across the island, wiped out all their health workers, and couldn't be stopped by quarantining. Okay, this just crossed the line into official too real territory, and I am not okay with that. But yeah, now Finn's mom is a consciousness spread across a ton of robots to keep the humans safe. And now that her son's come back to her, she will not let him leave. But Finn's like, yo, that mess is dumb and stupid and wrong. Minerva's like, yeah, you're probably right. And then they leave. Oh, except Susan. This island's actually where she grew up, so she meets up with an old friend and they head off to have new adventures. Oh, and her real name's apparently Kara. We don't really see her again after that, so Finn and Jake say their goodbyes and head back to Ooh, randomly picking up this vial of nightmare juice from a dream demon on the way back. I know that's a little out of nowhere, but trust me, it's important. The guys get back home just in time for Season 9. We're in the home stretch here, people! And good thing too, cause my brain is mushing out on me. Which is appropriate, cause while Finn and Jake were gone, Ooh totally mushed out on them. Place is a mess. Apparently, this ice elemental, Patient St. Pim, used Betty's newfound crazy magic to cast a mega spell that made the other elementals go crazy and corrupted all of Ooh, splitting it into 4 sections: fire, ice, candy, and slime. Betty tells Finn that they can reverse the corruption if they get all the royal elemental jewels. But once he does, Betty just yoinks them and bails. Ah, poop. Yeah, Betty doesn't really give a crap about anything other than Ice King, so she tricked Finn into bringing her the jewels so she could run more experiments to bring back Simon. But you know that Ice King. He's dumb. Dude doesn't even register what's going on and messes up her whole experiment, blowing her up in the process. Don't worry, she's fine. She's just on Mars now. It makes sense. Ice King brings the jewels back to Finn, who's hanging out with Lumpy Space Princess. Now, Lumpy's been a fan favorite recurring character since Season 1, but she's never really been super plot relevant. Not until now! See, LSP here is actually immune to the corruption that's messing with Ooh and its people. So, with all the jewels in hand, Lumpy Space Princess suction cups herself to the ground and runs a full system reset, turning everything back to normal. Hooray! LSP served a purpose. But things in Ooh don't stay good for very long. Fern starts having a total existential crisis and goes a little bit crazy. Apparently, this magic grass dude randomly developed the power to cloak himself to look exactly like the real Finn. So he attacks real Finn and tries to kill him so he can take his place. You know, like a normal person! Finn obviously doesn't want to hurt him, but he accidentally activates one of his robot arm's special abilities that completely mulches Fern. So he's dead, and as you might expect, accidentally murdering someone who looks exactly like you is just a wee bit traumatizing. So as we enter Adventure Time's 10th and final season, that whole ordeal is weighing really heavily on Finn. That is until, oops, Fern's back, and now he's tall. And he's got friends. Friends that look like they could be Princess Bubblegum's family or something. Well, that's because they are. These are the Bubblegums. I don't know if that's their official collective name, but that's what I'm gonna call them. There's Cousin Chicle, Aunt Lolly, and Uncle Gumball. Duh. Save that one. Princess Bubblegum created them when she was little, and things were pretty chill at first. But little did Bonnie know, her family was secretly conspiring against her. Bonnie was like, ain't all this candy nature dope? Let's plant trees. But Gumball was like, money. He wanted to build apartment buildings and sell merch and stuff, and wanted Bonnie to stop standing in his way. So he created this goop that would turn Bonnie into a big old dum-dum, and the whole family was in on it. That is, until Gumball tricks the other two into taking the dum-dum juice, and they got turned into... Oh, wait, those are Those are candy people. We've seen those guys tons of times this whole show. Oh, this just got way darker, dude. Luckily, Bonnie manages to use the Dum Dum juice on Gumball and save herself. And that's pretty much how the Candy Kingdom got started. But here's the thing. When Lumpy Space Princess reset Ooh in Season 9, she also reset these candy people back to their original forms. The Bubblegums. And they want revenge. Okay, this is getting serious. Like, big serious. Bonnibel and Gumball are prepared to go to full-on war with each other. The troops meet on the battlefield and stuff's about to go down. But then Jake jumps in with the Nightmare Juice, how convenient that they just happened to get that right before a war, and everyone gets knocked out into a dream state where they work out their differences. Finn and Fern are cool now, and PB and Gumball decide to call a truce. Except he was actually gonna double-cross her anyway, so Aunt Lolly jumped in and dum-dummed him. That is a very perceptive piece of gum. Oh, and Fern's dying. Yeah, they killed the grass demon thing inside him during the dream, and that's made his body unstable somehow, and now he's withering away. I don't know. Show's weird. But yeah, looks like the war's off. Seems like a pretty anticlimactic ending. Oh, crap. So, this is Gulb. He's an ancient, giant demon baby of chaos summoned by Betty and Normal Man as part of Betty's plans to bring back Simon. And Gulb is just wrecking the place. Ice King goes over to Betty and makes her experiment blow up. Again, classic Ice King. But then Gulb full-on swallows Finn, Betty, and Ice King and starts digesting them in his stomach. And I don't mean digesting like with stomach acid, I mean they are being broken down to their essential forms. Which is kinda just a convenient way to have the crown reset and have Ice King turn back into Simon permanently. Which is nice, but that reunion is short-lived because the walls start closing in. They're gonna get smashed, dude. Meanwhile, everyone else is still fighting Gulb's monsters. Bubblegum gets full-on crushed, and Marceline, who I forgot to mention is also there, panics. But when she realizes Bonnie's okay, she rushes over to hug her, and aww, they kiss. That's so sweet. Oh, and I guess Finn's gonna die, or whatever. In classic Cartoon Network style, everyone starts singing to solve their problems. And Gulb hates their song so much that his stomach starts opening up, letting Simon and Finn escape. Betty stays behind and uses the newly reset crown to wish that she would become Gulb herself so that she can leave Ooh, sacrificing herself to keep Simon safe. And with that, it's all over. Not everyone made it out alive in the end, but the fighting is over. And so is Adventure Time. We get a really amazing montage of everyone's lives after the war, and a glimpse into the future of Ooh, but yeah.
First official console was a joint effort with partner Mitsubishi. Released in 1977, it was given the unimaginative title of Color TV Game 6, with the number 6 denoting how many games could be played on it. Soon after, they also released the Color TV Game 15, TV Game Racing 112, Block Kazushi, and the Computer TV Game. It's hard to imagine that games on these consoles were really this simple. At the same time, Nintendo was also working on developing games for arcades, many of which would later be ported to consoles, including Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers. The company's first venture into handheld electronic gaming came in 1980 with the Game & Watch. The product derived its name from featuring just a single game, as well as a clock on an LCD screen.
Watch. Game Watch. Game Watch. Game Watch.
Multiple series of Game & Watch were made, some looking drastically different, like the multi-screen that featured 2 screens and a clamshell design that would later be replicated in future handheld Nintendo consoles. Until 1991, Nintendo released around 60 different Game & Watch games, like Ball, Parachute, Snoopy, Donkey Kong Jr., and Mario the Juggler. To keep gamers entertained, most games came with 2 modes, Game A representing the easy mode, and Game B representing a faster, harder version of the same game. The Game & Watch sold 43.4 million units worldwide. Fun fact, Gunpei Yokoi got the idea to create the Game & Watch when he saw a bored man play with his calculator in the train. In 1985, Nintendo really started to stand out from the crowd as they released the much-loved Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. It was Nintendo's first home video game console released outside of Japan. A different-looking version had already been released within Japan in 1983, known as the Family Computer, or Famicom. And while some of the games and art styles varied, the consoles were essentially the same in terms of performance. To say the NES was significant is an understatement. It helped to revive the video game industry after the crash in 1983, going on to sell 62 million units worldwide and set the record for the longest surviving video game system in history. It stayed on the American market until 1995, and in Japan, it wasn't discontinued until 2003. Many of Nintendo's most successful game franchises were born on the NES, like Final Fantasy, Castlevania, Metroid, and The Legend of Zelda. Duck Hunt was also very popular, but the most sold game for the NES with over 40 million copies sold was, of course, Super Mario Bros. The NES was praised for its simple yet at the time innovative controller. Joysticks were the common method of control before Nintendo designed and patented their D-pad. Even though the trend has now reversed, the joysticks often being preferred, D-pads were much better for playing 2D games like Donkey Kong. Fun fact, Donkey Kong was the first game that involved jumping and is therefore considered to be the first true platformer. In 1989, Nintendo offered more versatility to gamers with the handheld, brick-like Game Boy that used interchangeable cartridges. This meant that gamers could simply buy a game rather than a new device each time they wanted a different experience. Remaining popular until this day, the Game Boy was portable, durable, and came with hugely popular titles like Super Mario Land, Kirby's Dream Land, Pokemon Red and Blue, and Tetris. The much-anticipated successor to the NES was the SNES, released in 1991 in the United States with the new S standing for Super. Hence the Famicom, released 1 year earlier in Japan, also became the Super Famicom. The SNES was a 16-bit console that saw a significant increase in processing power, audio, and more advanced cartridges. At the time, Nintendo and Sega were going head-to-head in what is referred to as the Bit Wars, with advertising campaigns taking jabs at each other and both claiming to have the superior console.
What Nintendo?
Eventually, Nintendo got the upper hand and ended up outselling its closest rival with 49 million units sold compared to Sega Genesis's sales of 35 million. The third best-selling console at the time was the TurboGrafx 16, which lagged far behind with sales of 10 million units. Games that appeared on the SNES included the first Mario Kart game, as well as sequels to popular franchises such as Final Fantasy VI, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country, and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The SNES controller got a makeover too, with rounded edges replacing the former rectangular design and additional buttons being added to both the front and shoulders of the gamepad. In 1995, the Virtual Boy was released, but it was a commercial failure. You had to put your head in a mounted display, which was like a VR headset. VR didn't add to games at all, it was just a novelty. It was also uncomfortable to wear, not portable, too expensive, and games were not in full color, but in black and red. Those colors were just unappealing, especially when compared to the colorful games in other Nintendo consoles. It featured a number of games, including Mario's Tennis, Wario Land,
wait till they get a load of me.
And 3D Tetris. But those games weren't played that much since people experienced dizziness and headaches from this thing. The Virtual Boy is one of the worst-selling consoles of all time, with roughly 770,000 units sold. Nintendo drastically changed its game plan when it released the Wii console in 2006. Its functionality centered around the use of motion controls. The technology was innovative and unique at the time. The Wii is pronounced as Wii, which emphasized the console is for everyone. This meant the target audience was much broader than its rivals. A staggering 102 million Wii consoles were sold, beating both the PS3 and Xbox 360, which sold 87 and 86 million units respectively. Its specifications in terms of its processor, memory, and graphics, which wasn't even HD, were far less impressive than the competition, but those things were never intended to be the main selling point. Nintendo had reverted to selling fun. Memorable games from the Wii lineup are Wii Sports, New Super Mario Bros. Wii,
Mario time!
Mario Kart Wii, Super Mario Galaxy, and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Besides the Nintendo next introduced 3D gameplay to their DS models. Regarded as a brand new console, the Nintendo 3DS was released in 2011. The bottom screen was a touch similar to the ones seen in former DS models. However, the top screen was wide with better graphics and had an auto-stereoscopic 3D LCD design. This meant that gamers could turn on 3D effects without the need of 3D glasses. The console itself had multiple cameras, a circle pad alongside the traditional D-pad for easier gameplay, and internet connectivity with an improved online experience. Games that could be enjoyed on the 3DS were Mario Kart 7, Pokemon X and Y, New Super Mario Bros. 2, and Animal Crossing. More models of the 3DS were released. In 2012 came the 3DS XL, which had much larger screens and an improved battery life. Nintendo released a 2DS version in 2013, taking away the 3D graphics but making it more affordable. The new Nintendo 3DS was introduced in 2014. It fixed the problem that you had to face your 3DS directly from the front, or else the 3D effect would become blurry. It also had a more powerful processor and additional shoulder buttons. At the same time, a larger version, the new Nintendo 3DS XL, was introduced. And finally, in 2017, Nintendo made the new Nintendo 2DS XL, featuring additional hardware features but without the 3D functionality. To date, the total sales of the 3DS and 2DS handheld consoles are 75.8 million. The Wii U was released in 2012 and was one of Nintendo's biggest flops. The Wii U is an example of very, very bad marketing. People were confused about whether it was a new console or just an accessory for the Wii, and it's easy to understand why if you look at the trailer of the Wii U. They literally named it the new controller. The Wii U wasn't the greatest name either, since it just sounds like a Wii accessory. This could have been avoided easily if they chose to name it the Wii 2. Oh, and the ads were pretty bad too.
Hot buttered popcorn, that's a deal!
Up against the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, of which 110 million and an estimated 50 million were sold respectively, the Wii U only sold 13 million units. It was a huge disappointment after the grand success of the Wii. The Wii U was the first Nintendo console to support HD graphics, and those who did buy it were able to play Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, Splatoon, Super Mario Maker, and New Super Mario Bros. For You. The Wii U gamepad is the console's primary controller and has a built-in touchscreen, which can be used without a television or as a companion to games being played on the television. The concept of having a hybrid console of both a standard and handheld console was there, but there was a lot of work ahead to make it more appealing. After the Wii U, Nintendo went back to the drawing board and refined their hybrid concept until they released the Nintendo Switch in 2017. It features two Joy-Con controllers that can be attached to the 6.2-inch touchscreen display to play it in hybrid mode. It has a battery life of around 3 hours of uninterrupted play on a full charge. The Switch has many amazing popular titles like Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, my personal favorite, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.